Good evening, everybody. I want to say thank you all so much for coming out tonight. We certainly appreciate your presence here tonight, and we are excited to begin another year. And it is always so wonderful for us to have an opportunity to begin with our budget process, where we have an opportunity to fund our priorities in the county. And so I want to thank you for being here tonight, because you are a really integral part of this process, where we have an opportunity to hear from our community about the things that you would like to see happen during the budget process, and also to receive information from us about some of the priorities that you will see in the upcoming budget. Before I go any further, there are a good number of people. I'm just looking out and I see them everywhere I look, who every day fuel this government, and who are doing an absolutely amazing job for you each and every day. And so if I can, without going person for person, everyone who is a part of this administration, would you please stand and be recognized right now? All right. So I want to certainly thank each of them. We have an amazing team, and we have had a truly wonderful first year in office, and we are already off to a really productive start as we move forward. I should just tell you, I won't take up a lot of time because I'm really here to hear from you tonight, but something that you've probably heard us talk about in the past is you will notice that the budget in many ways does reflect the priorities of our administration, but those priorities come directly from you. You'll notice, for example, that 62% of our budget goes to education. We're very proud of this in Prince George's County. We have really heavily invested in education. We have done so each year, and in fact, over the last 9 years, we've seen our education investments grow by $177 million. This has been $134 million over something that is called maintenance of effort, which is how much we are required to invest in education. But we have gone above the state's requirement every year and have really made tremendous investments. Some of those you'll see in areas such as pre-K education. We also, in the last budget, made significant investments in teacher salaries. We're really looking forward also to school-based health clinics. We're looking forward to really comprehensively taking care of our kids. All 136,000 of our students, for example, will enjoy free dental screening. They'll also enjoy free vision screening. We're really excited that you'll see in this next year, one of the items that we're working on with Dr. Golson in the school system is making sure that all of our children are physically healthy, emotionally healthy, and so we're also investing in salad bars, for example, throughout every school in our system, working to really focus on wellness and nutrition, as well as what is happening in the classroom. So you'll see really significant investments there. You'll also see that we continue to invest in public safety. About 20% of our budget each year goes to public safety, where we make very solid investments that we have seen really yield great results for us in our county, that have not only driven crime to lows that we have not seen in 5 decades. And I know that our Chief of Police, Hank Stawinski, was here, if he is not still here, and our team. We also have our Fire Chief, Tiffany Green, for you all have seen our newly appointed Fire Chief. I think that is worthy of applause. And so much of our other team, but we've also invested heavily in public safety. But you'll notice also that we are modernizing this government, and so we made substantial investments in technology to ensure that the services, the goods and services that you deserve and pay for come to you in the way that you might expect. That means 311 is a system that we have improved significantly. I know Unisha Davis was here and the community relations team, but it is important to us that when you call the government, we answer the phone in a timely manner, and so we've made really significant strides in that regard, as well as technology. I see Wanda Gibson here, our IT director for the county, information technology director, who is helping us to modernize areas such as the Office of Human Relations, Human Resource Management, to make sure that our hiring is more timely. So I won't go on and on, but rest assured that this budget is one that we have really put a lot of time and thought in, but we need your input to make it complete. So with that, I will go over. I want to thank Stan Early, who is our director of the Office of Management and Budget, Stanley, and his team, Amber, Hendricks, the whole management and budget team, Janet, they all do such an amazing job, and I want to thank them tonight. So I'll hand it over now, and we'll look.
Opportunity to present testimony this evening. A time limit of 3 minutes will be imposed. I will have a timer set for 3 minutes. When there's 30 seconds left, I will hold up a sign reflecting 30 seconds. Once the timer has expired, an alarm will sound. Please be considerate of others and wrap up your testimony at that time. Thank you, and our first speaker will be Pat Boyd, and after Pat will be Sarah Cabot.
I believe can you hear me? I can talk louder. I believe I'm supposed to do an honorific, so, but I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to get directly in. First thing I want to say is, this year I really used County Click, mostly for reporting litter that we had picked up through TIA and Litter Track, and I had great results. So I wanted to thank you for that. What I want to address is the second trash pickup. I have not talked to my civic association. I'm with the Camp Springs Civic Association, but I talked to my neighbors. And the consensus is that we don't really need a second trash pickup except in the summer when we end up with maggots in our trash cans. And I don't know what the way around that is, if it's proceeding with the pilot for the composting, if that is going to work to keep the maggots out, I don't know. But as far as spending that $6 million for a second pickup, I don't think so. Okay, thank you very much.
After Sarah, it'll be Janet Gingold.
Good evening, Executive also Brooks, members of the administration, neighbors. My name is Sarah Cabot, and I'm here representing the Indian Head Highway Area Action Council. We congratulate you, Executive also Brooks, and former Executive Baker on the achievements in small business growth that we have seen in the last year or so, and for the current efforts to make the Largo New Carrollton area our county's downtown, which is what it should have been all along. Anyway, there are several little blurbs. We are going to submit written testimony. We believe in the creation of an independent Office of the Inspector General. That has been something recommended by boards and commissions since 2012. We believe environmental issues should be one of your top priorities now that we are beginning to really make progress in the small business growth. We support once a week trash collection. We support a total ban on single-use plastic bags. We oppose tax incentives to any power plant project that is proposed for the county. Any tax incentive should go to viable projects proposed at our metro sites. Transparency in all budget areas is absolutely essential. I don't know what happened to county stat, but we've been trying to get county stat back, particularly for recording what's happening with LDC funds from MGM and for Rosecroft. We support the hiring of more inspectors within the Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement. And we think that because developers really tour industrial and commercial areas, that our DPI should concentrate on making sure the standards that we already have in place are enforced in those areas, because that's where developers go. They count rooftops, but they tour commercial and industrial areas. And we oppose the use of any property other than the currently existing FedEx Stadium for a football gaming facility. I thank you very much. We will be submitting a further expanded remarks in writing.
I just want to, first of all, I just want to thank first Pat from the Camp Springs Civic Association. Is she still here? She may have, there she is. Thank you so much for coming out. That's my parents' Civic Association. So I want to thank you all for coming out, and thank you as well for your comments. And to just say to you quickly, one of the items you mentioned, the 2-day-a-week trash, and we are being very, very, very circumspect about that. You mentioned the composting that we first endeavored to expand that. We're still working on a smart solution for that second day. We have a good number of citizens who say exactly what you do, especially in the summertime, that they can't eat their crabs without these maggots and other things, that they want to have the barbecue and such, and so we'll find a smart solution. But again, we're making sure that we first focus on fully funding education and also the other services that are really necessary, but we're working on it. Sarah, I want to thank you for coming out as well, and just to mention a couple of things. You were asking about county stat. I couldn't resist to tell you that Molly Byron is leading our county stat team. She's working along with a few other really talented individuals in our office, Linda and David Sloan, and so we have a really talented county stat team who are working. And you also mentioned more inspectors, and you should know even in last year's budget, for example, we did increase the number of inspectors by 15, the number of positions for inspectors for DPI, and I think you're going to be very pleased with what you see. Melinda Bowling is doing an amazing job with DPI, and then many of the other areas you mentioned we're working on it too, the ban on plastic bags. You know, we're leading the state in terms of our environmental policies. We're very pleased that Prince George's County is leading in recycling and in many other areas, and so just want to thank you, and we'll look forward to getting your written testimony, but I did want to mention a few of to remark on a few of the things you mentioned.
Our next speaker is Janet Gingle, and after Janet will be Bonnie Greenslip.
My name's Janet Gingold. I speak today on behalf of the Prince George's County group of the Sierra Club, our nation's oldest grassroots organization for the environment. Because the budget process involves consideration of so many competing priorities, I'm here to remind you that protecting our shared environment is one of the most important functions of our county government. A healthy environment is essential for the quality of life of all of our residents. As you prioritize projects, please consider the environmental consequences of all of your decisions. We count on you to ask, what will this do to air quality and greenhouse gas emissions? How will this affect stormwater management and the health of our waterways? What will this do to our open spaces, our native plants, and our wildlife? And especially, is it fair? Do the people who pay the costs also reap the benefits? We hope the county will develop a climate action plan to expedite a just transition to an economy powered by clean, renewable energy, and to plan for climate change consequences such as extreme weather events. Because the transportation sector currently generates such a large portion of greenhouse gases, we want to see a real commitment to transit-oriented development and more walkable, bikeable communities. We want to see a robust transit system that gives people all over our county cleaner, greener transportation options so fewer miles are traveled in single-occupant cars. We want to see incentives for new green businesses and greener practices by existing businesses. Please fully fund the work of the Department of the Environment, including clean water services, flood prevention, waste reduction and management, and programs to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Fund the programs that engage residents in caring for the environment, including the Adopt a Stream program, Litter Track, and the 311 County Click system. Fund the programs for implementation and enforcement of existing environmental regulations, including business recycling, monitoring of illegal dumping, and woodlands conservation. Please continue investments in measures to decrease fossil fuel use in county operations by increasing energy efficiency, transitioning to renewable energy, and electrifying the fleet. Reduce litter by curbing single-use plastics and making sure that there are user-friendly online resources to help people reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost. Also, because connection with nature is so important for human health, please ensure the Prince George's parks have the resources they need to protect wild spaces and provide outdoor recreation opportunities throughout the county. And for our future, please ensure that the environmental education curriculum is implemented in all of our schools. As you consider the programs that need funds, remember that all of our people deserve clean air, clean water, green spaces, and local systems that make it easier to do right by our environment.
Janet, thank you so very, very much. I won't comment on every single item, but I will tell you that you really did speak to a large part of our agenda. I don't know whether you have had an opportunity to meet Joe Gill, who is director of our Department of Environment, but he and the team do an amazing job. And a couple of the items you mentioned, transit-oriented development is, of course, really one of the signature items on our economic development agenda, making sure that we are reducing strain on the infrastructure and thereby really focusing on transit-oriented development, more walkable spaces. You'll see that all over the county in areas like Suitland, Maryland, and in some of the other areas that we're developing. So that really is a part of our agenda. I was excited also to hear you talk about the transit system. I think this is significant, also especially relating to seniors who really rely on public transportation. So we work to really to look at some of our bus routes and to provide. We purchased new buses to make sure that we're able to do exactly what you said, is to provide a way to have that transit for more and more people and take some of the cars off the road. The flood prevention is a real serious issue for us. We've seen a real issue with that, especially in the southern part of the county, and so we're working. Tara Jackson, one of our deputies, is here tonight, and she's been working really hard to make sure that this issue has been addressed. And so much of what you've mentioned, I can just assure you that our team is really focused on it, and thank you so much for coming out tonight to share your concerns. We share them too. Thank you.
Bonnie Greenslade, and after Bonnie will be Joseph Harris.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Greenslade, a lifelong resident of Prince George's County. I'm speaking this evening to ask that the county government increase the budget for Prince George's County Animal Services Facility and Adoption Center and reassess the current expenditure of funds. This past year, the county passed updated and more comprehensive animal control laws, which most notably include potentially dangerous animal, irresponsible owner, anti-tethering, and mandatory spay, neuter, and microchipping. These additions were greatly needed as the county's animal control laws were grossly outdated. Just because these laws are now in effect does not mean that animal control has the resources they need to enforce these new laws. Why bother passing them if there's no follow-through and enforcement? The facility is constantly understaffed. There are not enough animal control officers nor kennel staff to effectively enforce these laws or properly care for the influx of animals, and there will, without a doubt, be an increase in intakes and lengths of holds. There are days when only 1 or 2 animal control officers are on duty, which causes extremely slow response times or no response at all. For a county this large, with a population that is ever increasing, this is unacceptable. It's unsafe and, quite frankly, embarrassing. One of the biggest hits to animal control's budget and the most ineffective use of taxpayer dollars is having breed-specific legislation still on the books 23 years later. By the county's own estimate, $500,000 per year is spent attempting to enforce a ban on pit bull-type dogs. A ban that is arbitrarily enforced based on a dog's physical appearance, ineffective in reducing the number of pit bull-type dogs in the county, ineffective in reducing the number of dangerous dogs in the county, and effective in increasing safety of residents in the county, and it's not backed by science. There is no need to single out dogs that fit a physical stereotype, but have not shown any dangerous or potentially dangerous behavior. Animal control is always last on the list when it comes to this county's budget, and that needs to change. Increase the funding so that Prince George's County Animal Services Facility and Adoption Center can operate as it should, effectively enforcing animal welfare laws, providing appropriate care for the animals currently in the shelter, providing affordable and accessible resources to residents. Stop punishing your residents that responsibly own dogs with blocky heads. Stop wasting money on an unenforceable and ineffective law. If the county truly wants to have a positive impact on safety, health, and work to build and repair relationships with the community, more needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. Just one item I wanted to mention is that we, in preparing the budget, one of you're right about the number of animal control officers, and so that's one of the areas you'll, I think, see in the next budget is an increase in the number of positions. So thank you so much for your comments and for taking time out tonight to come out.
Joseph Harris, and after Joseph will be Sarah Hernandez. Joseph? Sarah Hernandez? Sarah? Okay, Sakura Tasker? Sorry if I messed your name up.
Good evening. My name is Sequoia Tasker, and I'm speaking on tonight as the chairperson of the Prince George's Provider Council, which is a membership organization of more than 30 agencies that provide an array of supports and services to residents of Prince George's County who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. Our member agencies are committed to providing quality services which help those help those we support achieve goals and dreams, however small or large they may be. I would first like to thank you for your ongoing support of the 3-year supplement grant, which was awarded by the county to assist us in responding to the minimum wage legislation of the county, as well as assist our members as we work to increase stability in our agency, particularly given right now our time where we have a shortage of direct support professional staff. As a result of this grant, we have been able to greatly impact the lives of so many people with disabilities throughout Prince George's counties. I am coming before you tonight to respectfully request that our grant be renewed for another 3 years with an increase of $1 million over last year's allocation. This would be a great way to help our agencies cope with the current crisis we are facing. Through various surveys and data collections, we have learned that the county supplement grant has had a positive impact on agencies' capacity to continue their work, and without this grant, many of us would have had to close our doors or even downsize our services that we're now doing. As no doubt you're fully aware that in our field, we're facing the most serious crisis with the respect of staffing. This has become even more serious in the past year or two, possibly due to the low unemployment rate and lack of increased employment opportunity for young people who are choosing more glamorous careers. Together, our agencies employ over 26 direct support professionals throughout Prince George's County, which are the backbone of our agencies. In the last year, they have supported more than 2,400 people, providing approximately 3,354,540 hours of service. The average vacancy rate for agencies in 2018 was between 19% and 28%. If the agencies could keep their vacancy rates for staff under 7 to 8%, just think of how many additional people could be supported in Prince George's County. We are currently working on collecting more recent data related to vacancies in the agencies as of January 31st, 2020, which we will be happy to share with your office. The situation is continuing to get worse. We continue to sit there and struggle to maintain our staff. We currently know that there are approximately 100 young adults with disabilities that exit the school system, and approximately 75 to 80 of them are seeking services in the adult world. You, no doubt, are aware of the state minimum wage. The legislation included an additional 4% above for the wages for all staff. In conclusion, I would like to again thank you for your continued support, and again ask that you continue to support the 3-year grant with an additional $1 million in your FY21 budget. If you have any questions, we would greatly appreciate you letting us know, and we would love for you to come out to any of our agencies. Thank you.
Francis Ipalati. And then it's Mark Johnson.
Hello, my name is Fran. Do I have to raise this a little? My name is Frances Ippoliti, and I am the market master for the Greenbelt Farmers Market. I just wanted to take this opportunity tonight to thank you for supporting the Maryland Market Money Program in 2019. The Maryland Market Money Program matches federal nutrition benefits like WIC and SNAP up to a certain amount, allowing participants to purchase fresh, local foods from small-scale producers at farmers markets. Your support was transformative for the program at our market in 2019, and I think the numbers I'm about to share with you couldn't be clearer or more impressive. In 2018, prior to your support, only 38 people took advantage of the program all season, which was 28 weeks, to match their benefits at the market. That's an average of 1.4 per week. In 2019, with your support making possible better promotion, a dedicated coordinator, and higher matches, the program had 389 participants, almost 14 per week. And again, just to reiterate, in 2018, the program had only 38 participants versus 389 in 2019. To further illustrate this incredible increase, in 2018, the program reported a grand total of $1,075 at our market, and that's federal benefits plus matches. However, in 2019, $9,546 was spent in combined benefits and Maryland market money matches, so that's almost a 1,000% increase. I'm so excited to share this success with you, and I really want you to understand what an amazing thing this has been. I was there week after week this summer, watching the line of people for the market money when before I knew there hadn't been a line, and volunteers waited for hours each week for 1.4 persons to show up. It was so wonderful to watch them go and purchase all of this beautiful produce from the people who had grown it. I was so happy also for our farmers who work incredibly hard growing and making their products, who then bring them to the market and stand there every week serving the community to have access to this new customer base. So thank you again so much for helping to make the Greenbelt Farmers Market more inclusive and accessible, for empowering nutrition benefit recipients to spend their dollars on high-quality foods grown by their neighbors, and for showing concrete support for our hardworking farmers and producers. Thank you.
Mark Johnson, and after Mark, there'll be Wendy Kirkpatrick. Mark. Wendy Kirkpatrick. Wendy. Preston Mears. After Preston, we'll have Eric Mulvihill.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Preston Mears. I live down in the rural agricultural part of the county, and I've been a member of the Prince George's Food Equity Council, so it's well that I follow right on the heels of the prior speaker, and I want to reiterate what she said so very well on the money market part. In terms of background, I started off life working on my potato farm with my grandfather, picking up potatoes, and yet professionally I've spent much of my life working in welfare and with the Food and Nutrition Service, particularly on the now SNAP program, and the opportunity to try and improve nutrition and nutrition understanding and intake is so important for people to be healthy. And I'm blessed myself. My mother was a farmer's daughter, and I grew up on vegetables. I've been married 57 years to this lovely lady who also happens to be a great cook, so I've had good, healthy food all my life, and nobody will believe me when I say I'm 79 years old. All right, vegetables work.
Wow.
All right. Secondly, one of the things is I feel blessed to be part of the Food Equity Council because there's young people, you just heard one, who get involved with it. There's older people, there's farmers, there's a range of people. And what we have in our whole food system is a lot of moving parts, multiple gears all needing to try and work together and find new ways, better ways, local ways, agricultural sustainability, and people getting nutrition access. It's complicated. It really is. And what the Food Equity Council is doing, because of all the different players that come in and spend their time with it and talk and communicate, is it helps everything work better. If you would, the Food Equity Council itself is like a few drops of 3-in-1 oil that lubricate a lot of wheels that are very important and essential to us. In closing, let me just try and emphasize this. and my family, we hold hands and say grace at every meal. We are thankful for the food that comes from the earth, from this garden that we're blessed to live in. We are thankful for the people that plant the seed. We are thankful for the people who get the food to us or that we get it from them, including, I see you, including even the clerk at the store. And the Food Equity Council does include retail people, farmers, people with my background for helping people in need. So at the end of our grace, we are saying thankful for all those things that make it possible for us to eat a meal. And we say amen. And for those of you who don't know what amen means, it's Greek that means yes, truly. Good note to conclude on. Thank you.
Aaron Mulvihill. And then Faye Nelson.
This is going to be short. I've lived here for 30 years, and I recently retired, and I noticed my property tax is, I actually pay more in property tax than I do for my groceries and my gasoline as a yearly in my budget. And I was wondering, is it possible to reduce the property tax rate? That's just my one question. Because it's really getting high. It is really, we're all paying a lot of money. That's it. Yeah. That's it. Okay.
Property tax rate in Prince George's County for the county, there's property taxes, property tax, and so forth, is all things in $1 per hundred. It represents the bulk. It represents the bulk of the general fund, the largest single source in the general fund. Any changes require, reductions, and I will say that the property tax is such a large percentage that a significant reduction in property tax means a significant reduction in services. That's just a trade-off. It's just a trade-off.
Well, that's why I was wondering if you can cut some of the expenses to reduce the property rate.
Well, it's one other thing that, so Stanley's right, that unfortunately, the largest share really of our revenues comes from property taxes. And you will hear us say over and over again that this is something we must work on. We have to increase the commercial property taxes that we're able to take in from business, which is why development and economic development is so critically important to our county. About 70% of all of our taxes here are property taxes, which means that we have on the backs of residents, really. We're able to fund education and public safety. This is different than other counties. I understand your question because you're saying, well, how do we lower it? The way that we do that is by growing the commercial business in our county so that we are encouraging businesses to come here that are able to help alleviate some of the strain that our residents feel. I'll give you an example. 70% of all of our taxes are property taxes, your property taxes. Only 30% are commercial taxes. In Montgomery County, we have the exact opposite. 70% of all of their taxes are commercial property taxes. Only 30% come from residential property taxes. That's the reason business is so critically important to us and why we are really thrilled to see developments such as the one at New Carrollton, where we've been able to attract Kaiser and the WMATA headquarters and 2U Technology Company and some of those others. But that's how we do it. You're right that Prince George's County, we have the highest property tax rate in the state, well, second highest behind Baltimore City, and we have the highest income tax rate.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Faye Nelson. And after Faye will be Nakia Nicholson. Faye. Nakia Nicholson.
Good afternoon, evening to everyone. Please bear with me, I forgot my glasses. So my name is Nakia Nicholson. I'm a resident of Prince George's County, and I'm an education reform professional. And I know that the Kerwin Commission, I've been following that, and they have some pretty lofty goals for the state, which can impact Prince George's County pretty significantly, a $400 million impact area. And so I want to first say that I'm so grateful that you are driving to improve our school system. I know that 62% of our county funds go towards education, and so our ability to become more strategic and innovative is very important. Something that I'd like us to start to look at differently is how we educate, not the what. I know that some consideration is taking place around what our curriculum offering is, and while it's important, like offering African American history to our high schoolers, that would be one shift. I think it's something else that we can do by thinking innovatively about how do we attract temporary management organizations to come into our school to really go hands-on for those progressively failing schools. The other piece is how do we get in front of really developing our leaders coming into the industry, because the pool is very shallow. Not waiting for them to come to the county, but really set aside monies for leaders of color, Latino, Black excellence, to come into the county to study and really prepare, because we know that the social emotional crisis is hitting Prince George's County, which is why many families leave and opt to take their children to private schools, or they enter into the charter sector. So really asking you to think differently about how we prepare in the event that this Kerwin Commission is approved, which is a great thing, but it can't absorb so much of our funding that it jeopardizes safety. So I just ask that we begin to have think tanks with community members, personnel like myself, so that we can think very creative about how do we get ahead of it so that we can preserve our school system, because we should not be second to last in terms of academic performance, considering we are one of the wealthiest counties in this state and the nation.
Christina Orkatiki. Christina. David Owens. After David will be Marshall Parson.
Ready? Good evening. My name is Dave Owens, and tonight I'm representing the neighbors of Fort Washington Commercial Development. We are 220 members strong. Some of them are probably in the house tonight, and I always like to say we are on fire, County Executive, when it comes to beautification, increased beautification, and increased commercial development along the I-210 corridor. So that's what we're really all about with the neighbors of Fort Washington Commercial Development. I wanted to applaud your efforts. Thank you for everything that you've done, everything that you're doing, everything that you're going to do. Our one ask is that this budget fully address increased beautification and increased commercial development along the I-210 corridor. You mentioned it earlier about commercial zones, et cetera, et cetera. Fort Washington's growing. That area is blowing up. If people don't know, a new subdivision of $500,000 homes just built, and it is 100% packed. We have talked to people over there, new young families, and they're excited to be there. We all know that Fort Washington is one of 3 areas, I believe, in Prince George's County where 40% of the residents are college educated and above. We're pumped up. It's a great place to be. What we probably aren't as pumped up about, quite frankly, in our humble opinions, are some of the empty lots, dilapidated buildings, and blight along the 210 corridor. It's not who we are. It's not what we're about. And quite frankly, it's not what we want to be known for. So we just welcome the opportunity to work with your office. We know you've done a lot. We'd love to meet with you, invite you out, and have you sit with us and really figure out a way that we can work with your office to make sure that we can plant the seeds for smart growth along the 210 corridor, because it is desperately, desperately needed. Thank you.
So quickly, I just wanted to, first, I didn't say thank you to Nakia. Thank you so much for coming up. And just two quick things I wanted to mention to you. I don't know whether you know this is an exciting fact, is that we saw the greatest growth in our student population that we've seen in over 15 years in this last school year. And so I think that collectively, the word is really growing that we are a great place not only to live, but to also educate your family, to do business. And so we're really excited. We're not where we're going to be, but we are every year seeing improvement. I'm really, really encouraged by Dr. Golson's leadership. I'm very encouraged as well that we have Dr. Thornton as our chair of our school board, and the board is working well. So we have a lot of work to do, but we're really seeing a lot of progress. You mentioned Kerwin. I just want to mention two things about the Kerwin funding. Pre-K education, we've already started to make the investments there. We increased in our last budget, and you'll see us continue along this line. Pre-K offerings, we're working toward universal pre-K, which will mean about 10,000 seats for our kids. But we had made an investment to allow us to invest in 4,900 for last year, and also teacher salaries. And so people are coming here. And I agree with you, the training is going to be critically important to make sure that we are not only able to attract the best and brightest, but to retain them as well. So we're working in a lot of the ways that you mentioned. So I want to thank you for that. Dave, thank you also for the work you're doing. We would love to meet with you before we leave tonight. If you make sure we have your information, we'll make sure that we get scheduled so we can meet. Beautification, you gave me a chance to mention that we made heavy investments. I hope you noticed it last year in beautification. People don't realize it, but it makes a tremendous difference. I heard from a good number of business owners who actually said that it was one of the critical decisions for them in terms of beginning to look at the county, was the investments that we have made in beautification, litter collection, making sure that we were focused on illegal dumping, many of these issues that really do affect people's sense of pride and where we live. So we made heavy investments in beautification. We've been working with the state also on those infrastructure investments along 210. I think that 210 area is a gold mine. We're excited about what we know will be coming there, but we'll look forward to meeting with you.
Marshall Parson. Marshall. Amy Progoski. After Amy will be Tony Pierce.
Good evening. Sorry for my voice. My name is Amy Rogoski. I've been a homeowner in this county for 20 years and a volunteer at the animal shelter for 15 years. The county's lack of resources for the animal shelter is unacceptable. There are never enough caretakers. On Sunday, there are only 4 caretakers on each shift to care for almost 200 animals. We have been down 2 rescue coordinators for over a year. The updated Animal Control Code defines standards of care for kennels and commercial pet distribution facilities regarding exercise, yet there is not enough staff to provide the minimum exercise for dogs in the county's care. This month is the 23-year anniversary of the county's discriminatory pit bull ban or breed-specific legislation. When I offered my testimony at last year's budget hearing, I explained why BSL isn't working. Nothing has changed. There were 52 stray pit bulls picked up during the first 50 days of 2020. That doesn't include the owner surrenders and the humane holds. When I was there this past Sunday, walking the dogs labeled as pit bulls, there were 111 dogs in the shelter and 44 were labeled as pit bulls. On any given day, there are dozens of dogs labeled as pit bulls in the shelter, most of whom have passed extensive temperament tests. BSL gives the community a false sense of security because it implies it's keeping these dangerous dogs out of the county, but it's not. I have testified to county council that the only thing BSL does is keep good dog owners from adopting good dogs labeled as pit bulls. If the county legislators continue to vilify these dogs who have done no wrong, you are perpetuating their mistreatment. The people who want to do them harm will continue to do so since the county basically devalues them. I have invited all the county council members who voted against the repeal last year to visit the shelter and the dogs labeled as pit bulls to see that the ones who pass their temperament tests are just like any other dog there. The county admin building is 2.3 miles from the shelter. There's no reason they can't visit to get the facts. I am grateful, however, that the shelter allows the pit bull type dogs to go to rescues, though. Last year, I personally transported 31 of them. On a few trips, I transported 2 at once. By allowing these dogs to be pulled by rescue groups and placed out of county, you're essentially saying that you know these dogs are not dangerous, but that perhaps it's some of your residents that are incapable of properly caring for these dogs. There is an army of supporters who make each rescue happen. The rescue groups who come in to meet the dogs, the PGSPCA, who's been around for over 30 years, sponsors all of the spay-neuter surgeries. The transporters who give the dogs their freedom rides, the rescue volunteers and fosters who care for the dogs once outside the county lines, and finally the adopters who give these dogs loving homes. I regularly get updates from adopters. There's nothing wrong with these dogs, and this army isn't crazy. Ever since I started working exclusively with the dogs labeled as pit bulls, I've been keeping data on them. And so far, it's about a 50-50 chance that each dog I walk and spend time with and get to know will get out alive. The county needs to do some proactive outreach in the cities that are the worst offenders of having these dogs that end up in our shelter. Thank you.
Tony Pierce. And after Tony will be Jonathan Santana. Tony. Jonathan Santana. After Jonathan, we'll have Lee Schuller.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Santana. I reside in District 7, Capitol Heights, Greater Capitol Heights. Madam Executive, thank you for having this meeting tonight. I just wanted to remark on several things. Number one, I'm really interested in the development that's happening in the Central County corridor. I know that there is a redevelopment that is going to happen in Hampton Park Mall that's going to be converted into something where there's the county services offices will be located, and there will be other tenants there as well. And the Caroline development at Largo Town Center, which will be a multi-billion-dollar development, which will provide a lot of options for entertainment and shopping, et cetera, residential, commercial, for the people of Central Prince George's County. What I wanted to know, or rather, what I want to get an understanding as to where one could look up more information on this, and things that are going to happen closer to the boundary with the District of Columbia, sort of like the District 7, District 6, those areas, just kind of trying to get an idea to, because it'd be nice to see more development that way instead of further out. We don't have too many options where we're at. I just purchased my home a block from Larchmont Ave, and although we've seen, a lot of movement as far as real estate, people buying homes and things, we're not seeing things such as beautification as some of the other folks spoke about earlier tonight. So I just want to see where we could look up more information about the commercial development, hoping it attracts more money, bring folks back to the county instead of going into the district, going to Montgomery County, going down to Charles County, which is something that's been happening for a while. But other than that, thank you very much for everything.
All right, thank you so much, Jonathan. Congratulations on your new home. And we're glad you made it in Prince George's County. I just want to remark on a couple of things. You mentioned Hampton Park Mall. We are certainly excited about the development that's happening there. And in fact, I think I saw Mario. Here he is, one of the owners of our gourmet, Fresh Market Gourmet. Yep, that's openly one of the grocers. Mario is the owner of that, and so I want to thank him for coming out tonight. We're also really excited about Ivy City Smokehouse going there. Didn't know that, right? And one of our state agencies will be there. So that's an exciting project. You mentioned Caroline as well, which is near the Largo Metro Station and is really anchoring part of our downtown area, but that's going to be exciting. We can't tell you all that's coming there, but I can tell you you're going to be thrilled about it. We will get your information before you leave tonight. Find out, okay, you're sitting next to Terry Bell, who will get it. And what we'll do is provide you some information about some of the things that will be happening near your new home. So I just wanted to mention those things to you, and to tell you one other thing. We are also really focused on revitalizing some of our shopping areas. providing money for facade improvements. You will notice we are, in other words, making sure that the inner beltway areas also will see some investment. And so we're working to make sure that we eliminate some of these food deserts and that we bring healthy food to our communities. That's a major priority for us, grocers and such. And so you'll notice that we are focused. We did a study on our shopping centers and really picked out a number of those shopping centers for investment and redevelopment. So you'll see that as well. But thank you so much for coming out.
Leah Schuler. Okay, after Leah, we'll have Chloe Waterman.
Hi, good evening. My name is Leah Schuler. I've been a resident of this county for the past 7 years, and I'm a first-time homeowner of this county. And for the past several years, I've been volunteering at the Animal Services Facilities and Adoption Center, and I volunteer to help enhance the quality of the life of our homeless pets and get them exposure for their forever homes. I know one thing that is taking a toll on the budget, especially for the shelter itself, is the BSL, the ban on the pit bulls. And the taxpayers spending dollars to impound the pit bulls, which they don't get their daily exercise. There's an inadequate level of staffing, kennel staff. There's an inadequate level of animal control officers. Animal control officers do not have a lot of equipment that is needed for them, and a lot of the equipment in the shelter itself is very old and outdated. It's constantly breaking down, and they're having to fix it. So if we got rid of the ban, all the money that's going towards it could go towards the shelter itself, enhancing the life of the animals, adding more kennel space for them, adding more outdoor runs, getting better equipment to the animal control officers, adding more actual kennel staff, doing more events like adoption events outside of the shelter to give exposure to our amazing animals that are there that need out with the public so the public can meet them. Like I know Bonnie, who just gave her testimony, she does a day out with one of the animals. She takes that day out, takes pictures, she goes out in the community and lets the community meet them. And I feel if we had more budget to the actual shelter or even just got rid of the ban, we could have a better life for our puppies and get them out. And one other thing I do want to cover, since I do live in Prince George's County, I actually commute out of the county to work. But 197, if we could get some road fixture on that road instead of having to almost break an axle would be great. 197 heading towards Laurel, Maryland is a very bad road, and they fixed a few spots in the road, but it's not what it could be. They need to just, in essence, shut it down in the middle of the night, I guess, and repave the whole thing because it's already been torn up since they redid the whole patching, which was, I think, late last year or sometime. But that would be very much appreciated and save a lot of vehicles, wheels, axles, and flat tires.
Leah, thank you so much. Congratulations also on your new home. And just starting with the last item you mentioned, 197. So you know all of the numbered roads are state roads. They're roads, yeah, so the 197 is a state road. But Terry Bellamy is here. I think I saw him, who is our Director of Department of Public Works and Transportation, and we'll make sure we take down a note and follow up. We've been coordinating with the state to make sure that those roads are maintained properly, so we'll make sure we look at that one. I want to just mention a couple of other things. Thank you, and I also want to thank Amy. I know she gave testimony a moment ago. I want to thank Amy as well for coming out. And thank you so much for your passion and the care that you give to our animals. And to tell you that we will be increasing our resources at the Animal Control Shelter. We heard from the team there about the struggle, about the lack of staffing, and so one of the items that you'll see. I know the ban is also something that has come up. I don't want to ignore it. I know the county council, that's something that they take up because that's their jurisdiction to make legislative decisions. But I do hear you on it. I know that it's an issue that people care very deeply. I've heard so much comment about it, and all of us care about animals. So I want to thank you for your commitment and dedication. Thank you also, Amy, and everyone else who came out tonight to hold us accountable and make sure we're doing what we should. So thank you.
Chloe Waterman, and after Chloe will be Sydney Daigle.
Great. Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Chloe Waterman. I'm here representing the Food Equity Council. I'm on our steering committee, and also in my personal life, I work for Friends of the Earth, a social justice and environmental organization around leveraging procurement to benefit climate and public health. And that relates to what I'd like to focus on in my testimony today. So you'll hear from the director of our Food Equity Council next about our budget asks, and I support all of those. But one of them, and the smallest one I would point out, is for the county to get on the path toward values-based food procurement. And what I mean by that is the county is purchasing food right now for public facilities, for our jails. Our jail is a big purchaser, for Department of Family Services, elderly feeding programs, for the courthouse. I know you've probably spent time in that cafe down there. And right now, our values and the values that your administration has put forward, which are so aligned with the Food Equity Council's priorities around health and children and equity, I think are not necessarily yet reflected in our food purchasing. So for example, we've had other ways that we've leveraged the county's procurement to align with our values, for instance, with our Minority Business Enterprise program. And that applies to food service as well to some extent, but it often doesn't get down to the level of the actual farmer. So Prince George's County has the most black farmers in the state of Maryland, but land loss has continued to be a problem, and black farmers nationally account for 1 to 2% of farmers and only 0.2% of farm sales. And we can leverage our purchasing power for these institutions to help the farmers in our county, as well as to support our other values of health, to procure more healthy food, more fresh fruits and vegetables, to procure food that's better for the climate, less factory farmed meat and dairy, more plant-based sources of protein and fruits and vegetables that are healthier for us. So as the Food Equity Council and part of the HEAL work group in the Healthcare Department's Healthcare Action Coalition, we have identified a program, the Good Food Purchasing Program. It's been adopted by DC Public Schools that prioritizes purchasing of food in 5 value categories. So it looks at nutrition, environmental sustainability, local economies, fair labor, making sure that everybody's being treated fair along the supply chain. So we're looking for a $10,000 for a baseline assessment for a county agency to move forward with that program. And in my last 20 seconds, I'll just voice also support for lifting the pit bull ban, but from a different perspective, which is the way it's enforced. It's enforced in a racially discriminatory way because it's complaint driven. I am a white person in Mount Rainier that nobody's ever called the cops on me for having foster pit bulls. But in my last position, I worked with a lot of people of color from the county who had had their dogs seized from other jurisdictions. And I know just last night I was talking with someone who said they would certainly call the police on a black guy with cornrows and tattoos that had a pit bull, but not on me. So that's just another aspect I think we have to think about when considering the pit bull ban. Thanks, and sorry for going over my time.
All right, thank you so much, Chloe, for coming out tonight. And you know what? I love everything you mentioned. So what I think that Dr. Askew is here, who is our Deputy Chief Administrator. Okay, you may know Dr. Askew. Oh, good. Okay, so you know what? So we look forward to working with you. You know, everything, I could just go back over everything you said, but it is exciting what we're going to be able to do to make sure that our residents are healthier, and most especially to make the right investments in our children and what they eat. So we'll look forward to continuing to work together. Thank you.
Okay, after Sydney will be Kim Rush Lynch.
Good evening, County Exec also Brooks. Thank you for the opportunity to testify tonight. My name is Sydney Daigle. I'm a new resident of Riverdale Park, and I serve as the director of the Prince George's County Food Equity Council. We're a local food policy council that helps residents grow, sell, and choose healthier foods. You've heard from some of our great members earlier this evening, and you'll hear from a few more. We're here tonight to respectfully request that you consider funding 4 food and farm priorities in next fiscal year's budget. The first is the Maryland Market Money Program. It's been enormously successful, as you heard from Greenbelt Farmers Markets in Preston. Funding for values-based procurement, as you heard from Chloe, could be extremely impactful for the county's health and environmental sustainability. The third ask you'll hear more about is support for a weekly residential food waste pickup for composting, which I know others have spoken to this evening. This would both reduce pressure on our local landfill and, of course, help fight climate change, which is really important, I know, to your administration. And finally, the ask that I will talk about tonight is our request for the creation and funding of a full-time food policy director seated in the county government and interim support for our organization, the Prince George's County Food Equity Council. For almost 7 years, FEC has been working with county agencies and food and farm stakeholders to build a food system that our residents can be proud of. Our vision is a food system where workers, restaurateurs, food business entrepreneurs, and food workers can thrive, and where every resident can find healthy, sustainable, culturally appropriate, and safe foods in their neighborhood, regardless of their zip code. We've been successful over the past 7 years, and our work has changed the landscape of the county. Where vacant lots used to sit, now we have food truck hubs and urban farms growing. We've leveraged diverse partners to work on issues that improve the life of all county residents, from local food and agricultural business development to zoning and incentives for grocery stores, increase access to school meals, and improve standards and permitting for farmers markets. However, as our work has become more complex and as we've shifted from advocating for policies and programs to actually working on implementing them, it's also become more challenging to fund. That's why this year we're asking for the creation of a county-based food policy director position to build on our and our partners' successes. Jurisdictions in our region like DC, Howard County, and Baltimore City have established government-based food policy directors, and they've been able to help attract economic development, secure foundation and government grants, and reduce spending by improving coordination between county agencies and with outside groups. For the county, we envision this position focusing on addressing persistent health disparities in our communities and the increasing rates of diet-related chronic disease like type 2 diabetes. We also see the opportunity for this position to focus on attracting food-related economic development and tourism to the county and creating pathways for residents to start their own food businesses. We truly appreciate your administration's leadership and your focus on healthy communities, environmental sustainability, a child-friendly county, and we believe this position could improve outcomes in all of those areas and more. Thank you.
You mentioned child-friendly Prince George's, so I know you all have absolutely met with Dr. Askew if you mentioned that, because that is one of our key initiatives, is the child-friendly initiative. So thank you so much for that. We look forward to working with you and to hearing more also about many of the things you mentioned. And I think I've already heard with the composting and some, so I think you'll be very pleased in the next budget that some of those things will already be funded.
After Kim will be Donald Edwards.
Good evening, County Executive Brooks. My name is Kim Rush Lynch, and I am the Urban Agricultural Conservation Planner with the Prince George's Soul Conservation District, as well as a Greenbelt resident. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share with you the support we have received from one of our partners, the Prince George's Food Equity Council. Specifically, I'm here to highlight the role that the Food Equity Council facilitated with the district's Urban Agricultural Conservation Program, as well as the Maryland Market Money Program. Since 2015, the Food Equity Council convened stakeholders and successfully advocated for 5 pieces of legislation that expanded urban agriculture in Prince George's County, as well as incentivized landowners to use their property for urban agriculture activities. In one of the bills, the district was named as the technical service provider to support urban farmers and provide them with the tools necessary to develop and implement practices to improve soil health and protect our waterways through soil conservation and water quality plans. While the district was excited to reach a new base of clients and expand to meet the needs of this audience, we really needed to build capacity. As a result, the Food Equity Council assisted the district in securing a capacity building grant in 2017 from the National Association of Soil Conservation Districts. This grant allowed the district to hire a part-time urban agricultural conservation planner to meet with new and aspiring farmers and begin to develop a framework for this new program. The work of the planner and the advocacy of the Food Equity Council led to a permanent position to expand the program and leverage new and existing partnerships to provide additional services and resources for our urban farmers. In addition, the Food Equity Council hosted a focus group at the district's office for urban farmers to identify challenges and opportunities for county agencies such as the district to develop technical assistance programs and other support systems. I'm also here this evening to speak about how the Maryland Market Money Program is a win-win that supports both local farmers and families who aren't able to afford to put enough food on their tables. We truly appreciate your continued support of this program, as many farmers in our county struggle to stay profitable. Farmers in other jurisdictions accepting SNAP incentive programs, like Maryland Market Money, reported they diversified their products, added high tunnels to their operations, and increased their overall production. We also recognize that SNAP incentive programs, like Maryland Market Money, help to generate job growth and revenue for local farmers. Increased profitability helps to sustain our urban farms so that they have the opportunity to implement those best management practices that promote soil health, reduce soil erosion and runoff, and improve water quality. In closing, the district supports partners, programs, and initiatives that expand the implementation of soil and water conservation practices and urban agriculture opportunities in Prince George's County, which amplifies their positive impact on the health, education, economic development, and environment in our county. We feel that both the Food Equity Council and Maryland Market Money Program play an important role in the sustainable food system in our county that supports and values our agricultural producers and consumers alike. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Donald Edwards. Donald Edwards. Heather Husky. After Heather, we'll have, and sorry if I mess your name up, it's Guller, I can't even, I don't even know how to say it, but that's the next speaker.
Thank you, Executive Alsa Brooks, for the opportunity to testify. My name is Heather Halsey, and I'm the Program Director for the Maryland Farmers Market Association, and I actually manage our cornerstone food access program, the Maryland Market Money Program, in the county and throughout the state. First, I wanted to thank the County Council for your forward thinking in 2019 with your generous support of funding food access initiatives at farmers markets in your county. You're a leader in the state of Maryland, and you're creating a model for other counties. Tonight, I'm here to request funding in this fiscal year 2021 budget for the Maryland Market Money Program, and I'd like to request that you preserve the funding in the Department of Social Services proposed operating budget for the Maryland Market Money Program at county farmers markets. The program doubles the value of purchases made with federal nutrition benefits like SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, at participating farmers markets. It's a win-win, and as other people have said tonight, it supports both local farmers and families who aren't able to afford to put enough food on their tables. As a nonprofit provider of services in the county, I care a great deal about access to fresh, healthy food for county residents while infusing that food revenue directly into the local economy with local farms. Maryland Market Money helps food insecure Prince George's County residents stretch their limited food budgets with matching dollars to purchase fresh, healthy, quality foods at county markets. The food insecurity rate in the county right now sits at 13.3%, with a slightly higher rate at 13.5% amongst county children. To look at the big picture, in 2019, the USDA, Department of Agriculture, devoted $86 billion for SNAP benefits nationally. Farmers markets only tap into less than 2% of total SNAP spending, so there's enormous potential growth for SNAP spending at local farmers markets, including in this county. Last year, Prince George's County issued $9,781,294 in SNAP benefits to residents. With 40,742 SNAP households in Prince George's County, that's 10.9% of county households, Maryland Market Money incentives will help direct that spending at farmers markets where food choices are healthier than at many supermarkets. The program is helping Prince George's County farmers markets broaden and diversify their customer base, creating welcoming community spaces and thriving economic centers for local market vendors. We're helping farmers markets accessible to all and build positive, inclusive gathering places throughout the county for diverse residents of all ages. Also, all that money stimulates local economy, and county residents spending their MMM and federal nutrition benefits at county farmers markets are investing directly in their local communities. In 2019, there was a 400% increase in market participation from 2018 because of this funding. Markets saw a 250% increase in federal nutrition benefits and spending thanks to your funding. So in closing, basically what we see is the participation pattern is exponential, and every year participation and demand grows. So thank you so much for your efforts, and I ask you, and I applaud the county's dedication to ending food insecurity and prioritizing health and equity. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, and we really love that money market, the Maryland Money Market Program, and I look forward to coming back out again this year. As you know, I was out there last year for the kickoff of the program, and the market is just beautiful, so I look forward to coming out again this year.
Sorry if I messed your name up.
That's okay.
And after go, it will be Judy Mickens Murray.
Good evening. My name is Gül Güleryüz. I'm representing the Prince George's County Food Equity Council. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to testify. I'm one of the founders and a member of Food Equity Council for 7 years. I am so proud of the Food Equity Council's work and accomplishments since 2013, which led Prince George's County to be recognized as a regional leader in progressive food policy that creates a more equitable local food system. We worked on many issues and made impressive strides in advancing our mission to help residents grow, sell, and choose healthy food. We wouldn't be able to do this important work without ongoing financial support from the county. We request that the county continues to support our mission by providing funding to our budget priorities in fiscal year 2021. We are requesting funding for a full-time food policy director position within the county government and interim support for the Food Equity Council. The need for food policy work in the county is growing and getting beyond the capacity of Food Equity Council to independently fundraise for. We believe that a food policy director position in the county government will ensure the progress we have made is built upon and advanced. Regionally, there are examples of positive impacts and revenue generation from such positions. During the interim period, we are seeking continuation of county's financial support to the Food Equity Council. We also respectfully ask for funding to initiate a weekly curbside food waste collection for composting. Prince George's County is the home for the largest composting facility in the East Coast. Unfortunately, our neighboring jurisdictions benefit from this more than the county residents. During my tenure with the planning department, I managed the food system study and conducted research on food waste. This report shows the problems on food waste and recommends solutions in the county. Having a county-wide food waste collection has lots of benefits. It will extend landfill life because we are sending 50,000 tons of food waste to the landfill, and it will divert that to the composting facility and reduce methane gas emissions. They were talking about problems of maggots. Special bins for food waste will eliminate vermin, maggots, and other problems. The county will get positive publicity for reducing food waste, and more importantly, it is an economic development opportunity for the county because compost sales will generate more income than offsetting the initial cost of materials. And since food waste will be combined with the existing yard waste collection, there will be minimal operating cost. As this study shows, county residents are eager to participate in this program, and county's success in recycling and the EPA-funded food scrap collection pilot are indicators of the potential success of a county-wide program. Thank you very much.
Judy Mickens Murray. And after Judy will be Yvonne Thibault Curry.
Thank you. My name is Judy Mickens Murray. I'm one of the 11 commissioners that you commissioned in May of 2019. I am here tonight to request full funding for the Department of Family Services 2021 budget request, which includes funding for Commissions for Women 2021 initiatives. Since the appointment of 11 commissioners, the Department of Family Services has worked diligently to try to accommodate our request for 2020 funding to cover some of our operational requirements and unfunded mandated initiatives, such as attending the MLAW's legislative briefing, our partnering with Human Trafficking to host a meet and greet with the Prince George's County legislators in Annapolis, and our current initiative for Teen Girl Titan Award to recognize girls 12 to 18 years of age in one of 4 categories: entrepreneurship, academia, philanthropy, and athletics. Some commissioners for women proposed initiatives for 2021 are to organize and host a women's resource fair, legislative sessions, self-awareness seminars, and workshops in different locations throughout Prince George's County. We commissioners understand how difficult it is to provide unfunded initiatives within the already approved budget. It would be most helpful to see funding within the Department of Family Services budget designated for commissions for women, which does not compromise their 2021 requirements. On behalf of the commissioners, thank you for considering our request.
Yvonne Thibault Curry, and after Yvonne will be Martha Answorth.
Thank you for pronouncing my name correctly.
It's hard.
That's okay. Dear County Council members, first of all, I want to thank you for the new ordinance changes for our county shelter, or for the whole county. We appreciate it. We hope things will work out with that. I'm reading tonight from a friend that cannot be here tonight, Christine Rizzazo. When we know better, we do better. I'm writing to express my support for repealing Prince George's County BSL ban on pit bulls. I am a 26-year Prince George's County District 1 resident and 12-year volunteer for our county shelter. I implore you to repeal this ban for the good of our county, taxpayers, and animals. The ban should be repealed based on the evidence we have at hand. First, the evidence concerning pit bulls as a breed. Second, the studies that measure the effectiveness of the policy in the county. Third, the negative effect the ban has had on building community and jobs in our county. 15 years ago, I was wary of pit bulls. Frankly, I had little to no exposure to them and was influenced by what I read or saw in the news media, which is usually fake. It wasn't until I started volunteering and moved up the volunteer ranks to senior volunteer that I had the opportunity to work with pit bulls at the shelter and to educate myself about the reality of the myths that surround them. I'm not alone. You will be hard-pressed to find anyone that works in the animal welfare world willing to back this ban. Indeed, I have been bitten only 3 times at the shelter, all by dogs under 10 pounds. Not a pit. You can imagine what it was. We both have. You would be hard. I've been bitten only 3 times, all by dogs under 10 pounds, none of which were pit bulls. I know you have been given all the literature and studies by the most reputable animal welfare, veterinary, and legal organizations. I know you are aware there's no way to accurately identify a pit bull with certainty simply by visual components. I hope you know that pit bulls score quite well on temperament tests, above several other popular breeds. I know this information has been provided to you by multiple organizations. Given the evidence, the concrete analysis, there's no significant reason to continue the BSL ban here in our county. Thus, we know you know better, you do better. Given the fact that the premise of BSL bans was supported by our current research that our taxpayer dollars are being wasted in ineffective legislation, and we are losing potential upstanding citizens and businesses, you have a responsibility to me and all the taxpayers of this county to repeal it. Please consider. Come to our county, see our dogs. Thank you.
After Martha will be Nicholas Orrick.
Good evening, County Executive Elsa Brooks and neighbors and fellow residents of Prince George's County. My name is Martha Ainsworth, and I live in the unincorporated area near Bowie, and I'm almost a lifetime resident here. I'm here to add my voice to the chorus of people calling for residential curbside food waste collection. The Browns, this lady that spoke, whose name you couldn't pronounce, stole everything I had to say practically, but The Brown Station Road landfill is projected to be full by 2028. And we may not realize it, but about 30% of our residential waste is compostable. And the majority of that is food waste, vegetative and non-vegetative food waste. When it's in the landfill, the anaerobic digestion, decomposition of that food waste creates methane, which is a very potent greenhouse gas. And they try to capture as much as they can methane at the landfill, but they can't capture all of it. Now, the Prince George's Organics Composting Facility is something that makes me very proud of Prince George's County. It's the largest one on the East Coast, as they said, and let me just tell you, it is the envy of other counties and other states. I've been up in Annapolis listening to compost testimony on various bills, and everyone wants to see this place. You're going to have these legislators visiting you. It produces leaf grow gold. It's a valuable soil amendment, and it's really in so much demand they sell out every year. It's used up in Pennsylvania, down in Virginia. But we still don't have, they actually have contracts with other counties, but we still don't have our curbside food waste collection. I'd like to see the curbside food waste composting in the fiscal 21 budget. It's a win for residents. It reduces trash. It saves space in the landfill, money for the county. It reduces greenhouse gas emissions and produces a valuable soil amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. I think you're going to be really pleased with our composting program. I think Joe Gill was here. He may have stepped out for a moment, the director of the Department of Environment, but they've been working really hard. Thank you.
After Nicholas will be Margaret Bowles.
Good evening, and thanks to Executive Also Brooks for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm here to talk about the Mattawoman Power Plant that has been proposed for Brandywine. There are already several power plants within a 13-mile radius of the proposed site. Do we really need more at that location? Do the residents of the community need another polluting industry in their midst? Also within the 13-mile radius is an elementary school where young children are being exposed to pollution that is detrimental to their health. The PJM grid says that the power is not needed for its operations. Since we are in the midst of a climate crisis, it does not make sense to be building more fossil fuel plants. Proponents like to talk about jobs. Since only a handful of people are required to operate the plant, most of the jobs are for the short period when the plant would be under construction, and most of those jobs would not go to Prince George's County residents. So, what has this got to do with the budget? It has been suggested that tax breaks be offered to encourage the building of the plant. Such payments in lieu of tax deals are not really good for the county beyond the short term. I am asking that the county not offer any tax incentives to the builder of the proposed Mattawoman Power Plant. Thank you very much.
Margaret, and after Margaret will be Nicely Lucerio.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Bowles, and I've lived and worked in Prince George's County for most of my life. And I've been on this earth for 80 years. I was an educator for 30 years in Prince George's County Public Schools. And for 40 years, I've been an active environmentalist and community advocate. My first area, you talk about priorities, and my first area of concern is the public schools. Over 35% of our student population are Latina or do not speak English as their first language. That's over 47,000 of our children. We need to address their needs by increasing the number of bilingual psychologists, counselors, secretaries, aides, and teachers. We need to fully fund our schools. Many of our international students and our African American students have suffered great trauma in their lives. Violence in their homes, gun violence in the streets, forced evacuation from their homes, poverty, homelessness, hunger, mental illness, and loss of family members. We need a fund to pay for trauma-informed training for all of our educational staff members and the social workers who deal with the public, especially the poor who have suffered the most. This cannot be accomplished overnight, but we need to recognize it is a critical need and move forward in an effort to achieve greater numbers of trained staff members. It is a moral responsibility for governing bodies to realize what our children and teachers face every day. We need to work together and not separate the children, causing more isolation and fodder for gang membership. All of our children need to learn to appreciate each other's cultures, and they can only do that in classrooms where they are learning about each other together. All of our children, separate but equal was never a good answer. Equity is an answer. All of the children need to know that they are valued. My second issue is transportation and roads. We need to recognize that we're in the 21st century and fund more options for public transit and stop building more roads. Maintain the ones that we have. We could promote more private companies to help with public transit, like services existing in Florida that help commuters go to Disney World. Tax incentive and inexpensive or free regular multi-passenger vehicle inspections would help promote these kinds of jobs. Plus, it would put less vehicles on the road and create better options for those of us who are attempting to age in place. Oh, sorry. My last one was on trash collection, which we do not need to waste money on trash collection, or on two trash collections. It doesn't make sense. I taught in the public schools that reduce, recycle, reuse. Our citizens are smart enough to learn how to do that. Sorry. Thank you.
Muy buenas noches, ejecutiva y miembros del público.
Good evening, County Executive and members of the public.
Mi nombre es Lidia Rivas y vivo y trabajo en Langley Park.
My name is Lydia Rivas and I live in Langley Park.
Yo he vivido en Langley Park por 14 años y también tengo hijos que van a las escuelas públicas del condado.
I lived in Langley Park for 14 years and I also have children that attend the public school system.
Me gustaría hablar sobre la calidad de vivienda en los apartamentos y derechos de los inquilinos.
I would like to talk to you today about the quality of housing in apartment buildings and then also tenants' rights.
Para empezar, quiero darles las gracias al condado por tomar la iniciativa para investigar y estudiar cómo están las condiciones en algunos apartamentos, especialmente en Langley Park.
And I want to start off by first thanking the county for taking the time to research, analyze, and study the living conditions of some of the apartments in the county, especially in Langley Park.
A través de mi trabajo con casa, yo he podido participar en reuniones comunitarias con personal del condado para compartir las malas condiciones que he visto.
And through my work with CASA, I've had the opportunity to participate in community meetings with public officials from the county to share some of the issues that I've seen.
Por ejemplo, yo compartí que el departamento de DPI necesita más recursos para mejorar la aplicación del Código de Vivienda.
And for example, one of the things that I shared was that DPI needs additional resources to better implement the housing code.
Yo conozco familias que viven en apartamentos que presentan un riesgo al bienestar de la familia.
And I know families that live in apartment units that face health hazards that are a risk to their well-being.
Ya que se tomó el primer paso de hablar con la comunidad sobre la calidad de vivienda de los apartamentos, es mi esperanza que el condado dé los recursos necesarios para mejorar la calidad de vivienda para los inquilinos a través de mejor aplicación del Código de Vivienda.
And now that we've taken the first step in engaging the community about the quality of housing in apartments, it is my hope that the county would appropriate the necessary resources and funds to better implement the housing code, and which also includes the interest of the tenants. I'm sorry.
Parte de mejorar la calidad de vivienda incluye apoyar políticas públicas que fortalezcan los derechos a los inquilinos y sentirnos que nosotros tenemos manera de pelear nuestros derechos por parte del condado.
And then just lastly, she wants to say that also improving the quality of life for tenants also includes supporting public policies and initiatives that give tenants more rights to fight. And she mentioned lastly that sometimes tenants feel that they don't have the tools or the support to fight against property managers that abuse them.
Para terminar, le pido que por favor continúen apoyando de manera de mejorar la calidad de vida y fortalecer los derechos de los inquilinos.
And lastly, just we ask you that you continue supporting the initiative to improve the quality of housing and tenants' rights in the county. Thank you.
I just want to respond really quickly, but if I can, I wish that I can understand Spanish better than I can speak it. So I understood most of what you said, but my Spanish is not so great. But I thank you so much for coming out tonight and for sharing your concerns with us. We have the Office of Community Relations here tonight. And I think Katina Rojas, is she here tonight? Katina's usually in the house. Here's Katina. And what we're going to do after tonight is make sure we get your information so you have someone to contact regarding your concerns. And this is important to us. It really is. DPI is working. And the Office of Community Relations is working. So thank you so much, but we'll make sure Katina Rojas, who's our Latina liaison, also works with you. Thank you.
John Barry, and after John will be Donald Edwards.
And you know what, I mentioned her, but I want to introduce again to you all Tara Jackson, who is one of our Deputy Chief Administrative Officers as well, and thank her for being here. Family wanted to make sure I did not forget you, Tara. I'm sorry, I had not forgotten. I mentioned her before, so I thought that people knew her, so I apologize for that.
Hi, thank you, Executive Olson Brooks. I'm John Barry. I work with UFCW 1994, McGeo, and I represent the staff of Prince George's County Memorial Library. And Prince George's County Memorial Library serves families, children, school children, community groups across Prince George's County. And central to this mission are a group of employees called Library Associates. And these represent the connection to the clients and the community for the library. 18 months ago, both the library and the union concluded a classification study that determined that these workers have been paid far beneath their grade. And now we're asking that the executive take action with us. In an era when the community-based mission of the library is only expanding, these employees are central to the services that the library provides all of us. New buildings and capital development are great, and they look good, but the current pay scales for those valued employees leaves the library in danger of losing its important asset. The qualified professional staff of librarian assistants who keep coming back and get better and better. We look forward to working with the executive to make sure that with a salary level for library associates that is competitive with nearby counties, PGC MLS can retain and attract the great staff that makes this a library system that we can all be proud of. The current pay grade is not doing that, unfortunately, which is why we are asking you to help implement the recommended pay increase for library associates in the 2021 budget. This represents a modest investment, but it's going to go a long way to making sure that PGC MLS retains its reputation as one of the greatest library systems in the country, not just the county. Thank you very much.
I see our health officer, Dr. Carter, is here as well, and I did introduce Dr. George Askew. We'll introduce him again, and thank him for coming.
Okay, Donald Edwards. Donald. Tommy Bakula. And after Tommy will be, are you Tommy or Donald?
Tommy.
Tommy,
Yes.
okay. After Tommy be Les Greenberg.
Yes, good evening, County Executive Officer Brooks. I'm Tommy Makela from Ackie. Once again, I'm hearing the rumblings, especially from the County Council, about the twice-a-week trash collection, and that really, it's just a bad idea to go back. We have limited resources in the county. We have so many other priorities. I'm from the South County. We have schools that are just in desperate need of renovation. Some haven't seen any major renovation since the 70s. As long as that is the case with all these other priorities, we cannot waste. At least I can't justify wasting millions of dollars on a trash collection that's really not needed. And I did want to point out just a couple of specific reasons, additional reasons, besides the big picture, why I think it is a bad idea. First of all, twice-a-week trash collection increases actually litter on the streets. Because if you follow how this works, the trash collection on a residential street is by far the largest contributor to litter, because the collection process creates a lot of litter. That's how it is. And then the county council or the county did also study when this change happened. They studied more than half of the people didn't even use the second day collection. None of my neighbors did it. I was the only one who did, but it was useless. But I still did it. The emissions from the garbage trucks. Those I work on energy stuff. I know the trucks get 3-4 miles per gallon. Those garbage trucks. That is an incredible waste of fuel. The carbon emissions from those trucks. It's just like it doesn't make any sense to have those trucks collecting half-empty containers all across the county twice a week. Absolutely makes no sense. All other major jurisdictions in the metro area can manage with once-a-week collection. Why is it that somehow some people think we can't do what everybody else seems to be able to do? So, but I do want to point out that there are a couple of concerns that are valid that I've heard. I'm a community leader. I'm an past HOA president. I hear the complaints, and I do want to address a couple of things. With large families, I do understand some people that maybe you just generate so much. Then for that, rather than pay millions to have twice-a-week collection, maybe you just provide a big container, no explanation needed, or a second container. That's a pretty simple solution to a problem that I don't think it impacts too many people. Then the maggots, that part of it. On the other hand, we love to grill in the summertime every weekend. I have never had maggots ever because I actually bag my trash every time. I don't throw. And I only need to rinse my container maybe once a year. And even then it's really not that dirty because I bag everything. That really seems to take care of the whole thing. So I think that's just an education issue. And of course with the larger families also, recycling, that's an opportunity to promote recycling. And we do have other trash-related priorities, what people have pointed out, illegal dumping, the composting, and just litter pickup. That if we want to spend more money on those things, that's great. Let's not waste the money. Thank you.
I want to just also say thank you to Mary Lou McDonough, who's here tonight, our Director of Corrections, and also to congratulate her. She has announced recently that she is planning to leave us and retire. We want to thank her so much for her service. Also, I see Gloria Brown. Burnett. I keep messing up her married name is here, who is our Director of Family Services. Thank you so much for being social services for being here tonight. And Estella Alexander, also thank you so much after the house.
Okay, after Les will be Travis Reed.
Good evening, County Executive Officer Brooks and assembled people.
I'm here tonight, Les Greenberg, as a representative of the Hearing Loss Association of America, Prince George's County chapter. First, I want to thank you so much for having this translation of voice to text up for us. And many people don't know that most of the people who have a hearing loss do not sign. So this is what we need to be able to be a part of your organization. And so thank you very much for that. I want to bring something to your attention that is going to affect your budget because of a hearing world. Last July in Annapolis, our chapter and other chapters around the county arranged to have a bill passed that requires all buildings that are being rebuilt, refurbished, or built that have state money in them and are contracted for by the state to have not this system but another system. With this system, you have to pay every time there's a meeting. A hearing loop is something that's put into the building, right into the room. You pay for it once when it's built, and it does the same thing. It gives us sound right to our hearing aids. As more and more people who are older need hearing aids, and also veterans, and I'm afraid my friend Preston Mears left. I've got a year on him, so I'm 80. But I would say to Preston, if he needed help, to call me. But then again, maybe I ought to call his wife Lori, because most people, when they think they have a hearing loss, don't want to admit it and say it's their partner who mumbles. What I'm bringing up to your attention is that if we have any buildings that are going to be built under those conditions, you will need to provide some money for that hearing loop. The other part of it is, I know that you mentioned all those schools that are being built. If they are contracted under our county, it doesn't fall under this law. But we would ask you to consider the same things, because we're having so many people. In fact, we have the largest contingent in this county of veterans in the state, and many of them have a hearing loss now. So that loop to be put in is a cost that you'll have to figure in your budgets. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention tonight. Thank you very much. Oh, and one more last thing I might say is, as a positive note, our hats off to the library system, because the new libraries do have that hearing loop in them. In fact, our chapter has been meeting somewhere else, and we are moving to the library to use that hearing loop that has been put in. Thank you very much.
Okay, Travis, and after Travis, our last speaker of the night will be Leah Haley.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Reed. I'm speaking on behalf of school-based wellness programs within the schools. I'm currently a temporary nurse practitioner, a PG County homeowner, and then, as the obvious, a future mother that looks forward to investing into the community. Currently, the school-based wellness centers are located in 4 high schools, and we offer comprehensive medical care and mental health services to insured and uninsured students. Medical services that are offered include vaccines, sports physicals, acute illnesses, and reproductive services. These services are very important. They allow students to have health concerns addressed while they're actually in school. This, as you can imagine, benefits many of the parents. They don't have to take off work to have their children assessed. We can do it right in the school-based wellness centers. Unfortunately, right now in the schools, we have the reputation of high turnover and providing variable services. Students feel that they can't fully trust the wellness center because they feel as if, and I quote from a student, "You guys won't be here next year." I'm coming to you to consider hiring merit staff to provide continuity of care to the students. This will build rapport with the families and the communities. With continuous staff, this allows students and parents to trust the school-based wellness centers, and ultimately, it will promote better health outcomes for the students, both physically and mentally. And I want to echo Martha. She spoke so greatly about trauma-informed care. I can't speak on how many times we have students that have just been exposed to so much trauma in the neighborhood. So as you can imagine, if you have varying providers every year, these students can't build that rapport, and that kind of breaks their trust on them telling their stories and doing well in school. Thank you.
I'm happy to know that you're right. We have 4 school-based wellness centers, and we're moving toward 18 is our goal. Dr. Askew's been working with us on this, and we are intending in the next several years to build toward 18, which will be the most in the state. I also want to welcome and thank Shawn Stokes, who is our Director of the Office of Human Resources Management. For those who saw her. And I'm afraid about it tonight, I'm going to have missed somebody, but I want to thank all of you all for coming out tonight. They're just huge. Oh, and Aisha Alexander, thank you. Alicia Alexander. Yeah, thank you so much for being here from the Board of Elections. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Leah Paley. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Tonight was a bit of a hurdle for me personally trying to get here, so I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I'm the Executive Director of Laurel Advocacy and Referral Services. Our organization has been providing critical services like food, housing, and rental assistance to low-income and homeless individuals and families in the greater Laurel area for the past almost 33 years. About 82% of our client population are Prince George's County residents. Our organization is very grateful to the county for the funding that we've received over the years. I know that for the last 5 years, it's averaged about $70,000 a year for our organization just in non-departmental funding. And that honestly has been very critical to helping our staff meet the needs of our clients who are coming in to gain stability, be able to maintain their housing, or to help them build the tools so that they can achieve economic self-sufficiency. But with all due respect, it is not enough. I had a few statistics that I wanted to share with you that as they came to me recently, had the opportunity to attend a housing forum, affordable housing forum that the Department of Housing held, and I wasn't shocked, but it's still, I thought, for repeating. So one thing that I came across was that between 2000 and 2015, the median rent cost rose by 29%, and then in 2015 it was $12.94. And at the same time that was happening, we had a 1% decrease in the median income for Prince George's County. So that kind of goes along with where we come in. Organizations like Laurel Advocacy are there to help individuals who are facing eviction, and we had a good number of individuals, close to 80%, who were assisted last year, who were spending more than 30% of their gross income, not even their net, but their gross income on their housing costs. And that's almost double the county's average of 41% of county residents who are spending more than 30% of their income on housing costs. It's unsustainable. And unfortunately, our funding has been cut from a number of funders for rental assistance. So we very much struggled. And we also struggled to pay our staff so that they can provide those services. We are up against people who are able to pay more. We have a hard time retaining our staff. Our turnover was 50% because people were leaving for higher paying jobs with better benefits. So our organization is requesting $120,000 in the next fiscal year so that we can add a case manager to our staff to better meet the needs of our clients, as well as keep pace with the emergency financial requests we received. Thank you.
Can you repeat the name of the...
Yes, Laurel Advocacy and Referral Services.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I think we are at the end of our list of speakers, but I certainly want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I have to tell you that I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your time. We will certainly take them into account as we prepare this budget, but I also have to say to you, I enjoyed tonight. I really did. I enjoyed hearing from each of you and really appreciate having the chance to learn more about some of the work that's being done. And just thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I want to thank, again, all of the leadership in the government for coming out tonight, and the advocates and leadership in our community. And we look forward to presenting a budget to you that we believe you will be proud of, and that will, again, reflect the priorities of our community and help us to care for Prince George. And so thank you so much, and everybody be safe going home. Thank you.